If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know. Yeah. A fresh, cool young Lou, trying to cash his microphone check 212. Wanna believe my own hype, but it's too untrue. The world brought me to my knees. What have you brung you? Did you improve on the design? Did you do something new? Where your name in on the guest list? Who brung you? You.
Yeah.
The more famous person you come through, and the sexy lady next to you.
Talk to him, Lupe.
And then the hitman standing outside of heaven, waiting for God to come and get me. I'm too uncouth, unschooled to the rules, and too gumshoe. Too much of a newcomer and too uncool. Like Shadow in the Veil, I battle with it.
Hey, yesterday, I did a little singing for y'all, and so I ain't giving no, no bars today or nothing like that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, Riptide Media Network, and 102.9 The Game app. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, whatever you do. Keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure that you like. Make sure that you subscribe. Yo, what is going on out here in these streets? There was something that I read today that asked the question, which one is a more enjoyable game to watch? Real football or 7-on-7? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what anybody tells you. I'm going to tell you what I believe. This is coming from a guy who played receiver. This is coming from a guy who played 7-on-7. This is coming from a guy who has coached football, who has played football, who has won 7-on-7 championships as a coach. 7-on-7 gets boring. There's no fear in 7-on-7. Yo, you want to know the funniest part? I play basketball, right? So I'm going to look at 7-on-7 football the way in which we look at basketball, right? Because there's a misnomer that 7-on-7 is zero contact, which isn't true. There's contact in 7-on-7, right? The same way that in basketball people act like there's zero contact, but that's not true. There's contact in basketball. So very similar in the way in which, the games are disseminated, right? Like the way in which they're played, the fact that there's spacing, right? That's why full court basketball is better than half court basketball. But here's where we get the difference, right? In 7-on-7, it is 100% set up for the offense to win. When offenses don't win, it's their own fault. Like they have nobody else but themselves to blame. Everything is in favor of the offense, including the count, because without a shadow of a doubt, you're always going to have 1,001, 1,002, 1,003 sack, right? Or 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,000 sack. But it's always going to be that. It's going to be that every single time. You're not worried about a pass rush, right? And if you're playing in a league that is a pass rush league, then you're not playing 7-on-7. You're playing flag football, right? You're playing flag football. Now your quarterback can run. That's different. That's not 7-on-7. So I want people to understand, 7-on-7, your quarterback just stands back there as harmless as can be, the most comfort in the world, gets a chance to look all over the place, and then find the one person that's open, and if he's not open, dump it down to somebody that should be always there for a dump down to pick up a couple yards. What is fun about that? What is fun about that? As a player, I'm telling you, it's only fun for like the first few minutes of it. After that, it gets tedious. Why? I play receiver. I'm big. I am going deep. Every other play, it's just deep route after deep route after deep route. It's a fade ball. It's a post. It's a cross. It's a dig. It's an over route. It's 20, 30, 40 every single play. We're not running hitches. The only time you running hitches or people be running hitches in 7-on-7 is when you absolutely got to pick up a first down. And even then, they'll just send the running back through the imaginary offensive line. Option route, pick up the first down. Defenders have to, in order to see any type of success, defensive players have to hold, and not only hold, but essentially demolish a wide receiver in order to get any type of love or respect. Plays where the ball goes over the wide receiver's head, he's got no chance of catching it. The DB is doing the incomplete sign. At every single turn, everywhere you turn around, there are inconsistencies that don't make the game like legitimately fun to watch for anybody who knows anything about the game. So the idea that somebody would even ask the question is blasphemous. It's ridiculous. Not only is 7-on-7 not better or more fun to watch than regular football, even this watered down version of football that we have today, because you can't really hit people like you used to be able to hit people, 7-on-7 doesn't even show people's real legitimate abilities because it doesn't give them any understanding about mismatches. In 7-on-7, you go out there, look at the people playing linebacker. Does every defense just happen to be in a no linebacker coverage? Every defense got 7 defensive backs on the field. Every defense, 7 defensive back, maybe 1 linebacker, and that's that one super athletic linebacker that people have. When I go to 7-on-7s, the real legitimate people who play linebacker when we play. Why? Because 7-on-7 is supposed to be an addendum. It's supposed to be in addition to. It is not in replace of. They're not even talking about expanding 7-on-7. These 7-on-7s, the way they exist, they're only ever going to exist there. Flat, if you want to talk about a sport that has a chance to usurp football, if you want to get rid of the violence, it's flag football. Well, yeah, they're the same thing. They're not the same thing. And that's what you mouth breathers don't understand when y'all start talking this ridiculousness about how great 7-on-7 is. Oh, it's competition. Yes, it's competition. Nobody ever said it wasn't competition. But it ain't on the same level. It don't have the same level of strategy. There is a ton of strategy in flag football. There is a ton of nuance in flag football that you don't find in 7-on-7 and you don't find in real tackle football. So that is its own legitimate entity. That's why women's flag football has gone through the roof so quickly. They're not out there playing 7-on-7, and the women's teams that are just simply out there trying to play 7-on-7, they suck at it. The ones who understand and figure out how to make the rules work for them, those are the ones that have the most success. I didn't just make this up. Go watch the games. Go watch what they do. Go see how they operate. It's a different level. It's a different type of swagger out there when it comes to flag football versus 7-on-7 football. Hell, 7-on-7, you know what it is? 7-on-7 ain't nothing but ultimate frisbee. Only difference is you can run after you catch it. That's the only difference. 7-on-7 ain't nothing but glorified ultimate frisbee. And not for nothing, I played Ultimate Frisbee. It was fun as like a something to do once a week, but it got old real quick. Anybody who's ever played real football knows you can only do those gimmick thingies for so long before you crave for the real thing. I tell people all the time I have zero desire to ever play football again. I loved playing football. I loved playing basketball. Right? There's only one of them that I've come back to in retirement. In retirement, when I walked away from college with a degree and said, I am done playing, I am only going to coach. From that day forth, I never. Sorry, wait. Right? Like not what I was on. Right? That's not what I was trying to do. And again, I apologize for those that are out there watching the feed. We're having some technical difficulties. We're gonna clear it up here in a second, hopefully. But that's not what I was on. That's not what I was about. That's not what I was trying to do. So when I see people trying to compare 7-on-7 to real football, I get legitimately like upset by it. Yo, why are you so mad about it? Cause it just goes into all of the things that are wrong with what we're trying to do as a sport, and why football, when it comes to the money, has been so marginalized for the people who make it go, right? Everybody's getting money in football. Everybody's getting money. I'm talking big money. Everybody except the players. Regardless of what you believe, everybody but the players, they're getting paid. They're getting broke off. Everybody but the players are out here achieving, are out here getting it. Everybody but the players. And so when I think about the fact that everybody but the players are the ones that are getting this money, I can't help but recognize that we are our own worst enemies when it comes to this. Because we allow people to like pimp us in these games that don't mean anything. 7-on-7 better than football. Man, you got to be kidding. You get out of here with this dumb stuff. 7-on-7 is a cool little respite, a good way to break up your day after you got your workout in. But when it's time for real football, 7-on-7 need to go sit his ASS down in the corner. Have a good day. You want to know how I know the 7-on-7's Fugazi? Because there's more than one national championship. Every week there's a national championship. If you want to know why 7-on-7 is Fugazi compared to real football, it's because every single week there's another national championship. There's another national championship. I can't get by that. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go to X, to my page at Gene Clemens on X. Vote on our poll of the day. Our Keep It Spicy poll of the day. It says, do you believe the CEO of an NIL collective should get paid? If you're wondering what that's off of me learning that the Gator NIL collective has a CEO, and me wondering how much that CEO gets paid. It just had me thinking, like, do you believe that a CEO of an NIL collective should be paid? Right? I just want to hear from you. Make sure you go to @GeneClemens. Shout out to those people who have retweeted, all my guys. But I want to know what you think about it. Right? I want to know what you think about those things. I want to see how you feel about them. You want to know what else I feel strongly about? I feel strongly that somebody needs to tell Dolphins fans or the people who are like out here, like, glazing the Dolphins, that Mike McDaniels is not doing anything special. You can call this hate. I don't even care at this point. You can call it hate. You can say I'm hating on him, whatever. Okay, cool. Tell me what he's done that's different. Tell me how he's innovated. Somebody was saying, I forget who it was, but it was somebody that's down there with the Dolphins, or that covers the Dolphins. Maybe Omar, I'm not sure. But somebody said that Mike McDaniel is an innovator, and I might have it wrong. He might have said something different, but he said something to the effect that Mike McDaniel was doing something innovative. And I just want to reach out to you guys. Hey, to Dolphins fans, what is Mike McDaniel doing that is innovative? That's innovative. Is it him convincing Grier to go out and get all of the fast people in the NFL? Because I'm pretty sure Grier would have done that without Mike McDaniel. Is it him like convincing all of the fast players that, hey, we're gonna make sure we get you an opportunity to be fast in the open field at least once every game? Okay, maybe it's the product, maybe it's the play calling, it's the game planning. If that's the case, then why do we see times where all of a sudden their offense stalls? If there's genius there, if there is a level of innovation, then people should not have caught up to it so quickly, because there's no innovation. It doesn't take innovation to see that Tyreek is even with a cornerback, and he's the fastest dude in the NFL, so I'm just going to throw the ball up to him. It's nothing to see Jalen Waddle screaming down the middle of the field and go, oh yeah, he's faster than everybody else. Let me just throw it out there to the space and let him run underneath it. There's nothing innovative about a defense being so afraid to get burnt over the top that they have created all of these running lanes. And so now all one of these fast running backs, because that's what they are, fast, all they need to do is hit a lane once, and then it's a track meet, and they're going to outrun people. Wow, so innovative. He's doing something so different. Even if it is innovation, it's not his innovation. It's Shanahan's innovation. He never called no plays. He didn't cut his teeth calling plays. He cut his teeth as the man behind the man behind the man. He got to the spot he was in because he rode the heat of a head coach. No shade. There's been a lot of assistant coaches that rode the heat of the head coach. So no shade there. But then when you get to where you're going, like my boy Lupe says, did you improve on the design? Did you do something new? The answer is no. Every single coach in the world would run an offense similar to the way the Dolphins run the offense if they had all of the people that the Dolphins have in place. You want to know why I don't think there's a lot of innovation going on? Because Mike McDaniel hasn't figured out how to have a tight end be really good in an offense where the tight end would be a cheat code. He hasn't figured out a way to use the tight end effectively in an NFL that is catered to tight ends being good. And you want to talk to me about innovation? People want to tell me that they're out here innovating? Innovating what? Innovating what? Let me explain something to y'all, right? When Brian Flores was let go, right? When Brian Flores was let go from the Miami Dolphins after 3 seasons, his last 2 seasons, he was 10-6 and then 9-8. Mike McDaniel has been 9-8 and 11-6 with infinitely better weapons than Flores had when he was there. He had Fitzpatrick, right? He had Fitzpatrick. Then he had a rookie Tua, who they blame him for every single thing that Tua didn't do, even though we've seen some of the same stuff that he did as a rookie that would have made Flores mad in the last 2 years. We've seen it, right? So he had Tua, or the Tua of the last 2 years, was it? I can't remember. But he had Fitzpatrick, he had Tua. I know that one of the years it was Fitzpatrick and Tua. 10-6, 9-8. McDaniels, 9-8, 11-6. Offensive ranks. They were the 15th and the 22nd ranked offense in points during the last 2 years of Flores' tenure in Miami. They were 11th. They were 11th and 2nd this past year. So they were 11th in Mike McDaniel's first year, 2nd in his second year, and yet the record is still the same. What if there is innovation? Which I tell you there's not. I've seen everything that he's done several places. He is not doing anything phenomenal. But if there is innovation, it would be somebody else's innovation. And if there's innovation, what is the innovation doing? What is it getting them? People say, oh, you just can't look at the record. You got to look at the game. No, baby. Not in the NFL. At the NFL level, you are what your record says you are. When the New York Giants won all of those games in 2022, nobody wanted to hear me when I said, hey, they're winning these games, but it's kind of flukish. I don't know if they can come back on the second year and build on this. They're kind of ahead of schedule. You should probably temper your expectations for 2023. Nope. They're a playoff team now. And thus, the expectations in 2023 was that they be a playoff team, except they were not a playoff team and they had a bunch of injuries. I'm telling you, this Miami Dolphins team was already heading in the trajectory that they were heading before they added McDaniels, before they did all of the maneuvering, before they spent all of the money. And then they spent all that money for a new head coach, a new receiver, a couple new running backs, and they're still in the same place they were before. They're still doing the same stuff they were doing before. Somebody make it make sense. Somebody help me understand where the innovation has taken them. Oh, it's just more fun for Miami Dolphins fans now. Oh, well, why didn't y'all say so? You're just here for the fun. Okay, I stand corrected. If we're just here to say that these Dolphins are just more fun than the Flores Dolphins, okay, cool. But there's something to be said about Flores going 10-6 with significantly less weapons at his disposal than the 11-6 Miami Dolphins. There's something to be said. There's something to be said about Flores doing all of this while the team hated his guts, supposedly. Meanwhile, McDaniel is loved and beloved and exalted. The talk about Flores and his old school mentality versus McDaniel and his new age innovation, quote unquote. There's something to be said that those two people are so different that they're doing such astronomically different things. And yet, Miami is only one game better than they were with that man in charge. How could Mike McDaniel not be on the hot seat? He's been given every opportunity to succeed. He took over a team ready to succeed. He didn't take over a team that was coming off of a 5-11, right? Or a 7-9, right? When Flores took over, he took over Adam Gase's team 7-9. He took over 5-11, and then he got it popping. He left the cupboard full. He left the place better looking than what it was before he got there. What? Like that's what we got to think about. He got it popping. He was ready for them to take off, and then they wanted to get Sean Payton. They wanted to try to get Peyton Manning to come down. I mean, not Peyton Manning, but Tom Brady to come down there. They had it all figured out. So now we got to make Flores look like a bad guy. We got to make him look like he doesn't know what he's doing. We got to make him look like he is not good. And once we do that, my friends, now it won't matter who we hire because anybody will be better than him, right? So they go out and get the weird talking, right? The I won't say I'm a black man, but I'm kind of a black man. I don't really, I'm awkward. I've never really told people until all of a sudden it became advantageous for me to say it. And I still don't feel comfortable saying it. If you don't feel comfortable calling yourself a black man, guess what you're not? You're not black. Sorry. I ain't make the rules. You can apply that to anything. If you don't feel comfortable with your identity, then you're probably not that. That's cool. Nobody's begging you to claim them. You think black people were out there going, man, I can't believe Mike McDaniel won't claim us. No. We didn't care. We only cared once they said that San Francisco was going to receive compensatory picks because Miami hired a minority. That's when we cared. Wait. What minority did they hire? Well, Mike McDaniel's a black man. Oh. Okay. All right. Y'all got to stop with trying to anoint everybody that comes into the game that's a little bit younger, that may have a little bit more like hip hop swagger to them, whatever you want to call it, more young energy. You got to stop calling them all geniuses. There's nothing genius about what Mike McDaniel's doing. And again, you can call this hate, but this isn't hate. If he was doing something phenomenal, then I would say he's doing something phenomenal. Everybody was giving the props, right? Everybody was giving the props to Shanahan when he was in Atlanta, and then when he went to San Francisco, because he was scheming people open. He was scheming them open. He was designing plays that made you think, and then people were running wide open. People had wide open rushing. We were giving him hype because he had a different running back every week because them all getting hurt, and every last one of them that came in balled. We gave him props because he had a different quarterback every other week when they were all getting hurt, and they all came in and balled. That's why we gave him props. I have yet to see the innovation. They're putting it on Tua. Well, you're the innovator. Change the math with Tua. If you need more out of him, what you trying to pay him for then? You got the mastermind. Just go find somebody else, right? Oh, never mind. The genius needs all of the tools in order to be good. The genius can't figure out how to be good without every single tool being elite level. The quarterback's got to be elite level. All of the wide receivers have to be elite level. The tight end has to be elite level. They need an all-pro offensive line, and they need all-pro running backs. Not one, not two, but maybe three of them. We just got to stop anointing everybody the savior, anointing everybody a genius before they actually do something that's genius worthy. Ladies and gentlemen, we come back to Talk Spicy. I'm right back on the spice again. Stay tuned. This is Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Network.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, Riptide Media Network and 102.9, the Game app. If it wasn't bad enough that we have to hear about people trying to turn coaches into geniuses before they've ever done anything genius worthy, right? And here's my thing too, right? I am 100% under the impression. I'm 100% under the impression that I am a really good coach. I also am under the impression that I need to prove it, right? That there needs to be things that I can look to and check that prove that I'm a really good coach. So I can say I'm a really good coach all I want, but the proof is in the pudding. So like real ones will know. Others may not. Like some people might look at it and go, oh, well, your win-loss record. Cool. That's an NFL thing. Why? Because in the NFL, they get to pick and choose their players. In high school, it might not be a win and loss thing. In high school, it might come down to competitiveness. My team over here with limited amounts of high-end to even collegiate talent versus this team over here full of high-end collegiate talent or low-end collegiate talent versus no collegiate talent. If the team that is clearly undermanned is able to hang and be competitive with the team that has all the advantages, that says a lot. People can draw a lot out of that, right? So I might think I'm great. In my mind, I think I'm great. In my heart, I think I'm great. But I have to continually prove greatness. You know what I've never really claimed to be? An innovator. I don't think I'm doing anything innovative because I don't really think you need to do anything to innovate within the game. Do I do some fancy stuff? Yeah, but I'm sure somebody's done it somewhere at some point in time. There's nothing innovative about what I do. Do I play up tempo? Yeah. Have I had times where I didn't kick? Yeah. None of it is innovative. Somebody's already done it. To innovate, you have to bring something to the table or take something that's being done and do it in a different way that has never been done before and have success. If you're not doing that, then guess what? You ain't innovating. That's what makes me mad about media today. Some people will tell you that there's a lot of innovation in media today, and there's not. You want to know what the innovation that they're referring to is? It is the rise of the voice of the fanalist. Because with the rise of social media, the people who will say and do things that pander to the fans, right? That give the fans the dopamine hit that they're looking for, those are the people who get more love. They get more follows. They get more ratings. They get more eyeballs. They get more clicks. Now, a lot in media, people want to know what your following is like before they give you a job. People want to know that you have the ability to build a following before they give you a job. The Fanalist isn't an innovation. It's a market inefficiency. It's a market inefficiency. Because you don't blame the Fanalist when the Fanalist gets it wrong. You know what you do? You just say, oh, he's a fan. That's all. You say, oh, she's just a fan. You don't blame them when they get it wrong. You don't blame them when they don't know what they're talking about. You don't blame them when they say things and act as if they have sources, but really they don't. They just got their homeboy that they talk to. You don't blame them when they make predictions that never come true. You don't blame them when they lead you down the road of promise only to be disappointed. You don't go back and say, oh, well, Matt 4768 told us that they were going to have a good season. They had the opposite. Oh, he must not know what he's talking about. And because you don't hold the Fanalist accountable, then where does that leave real journalism? If the Fanalist is getting the ratings and the Fanalist is getting the eyeballs and doing fan type stuff gets you more clicks, gets you more attention, then you go further and further away from real journalism, from real reporting. And so I don't watch any of the stuff that I used to watch on regular cable. I used to be ESPN in the morning, ESPN, and go over to the Fox Sports and then hop back to ESPN. I used to love watching the radio talk shows, where this was the era where the radio talk show had ascended into everybody's radio talk show was on TV now. So it was, I remember it was Mike and Mike, and it was Dan Patrick. Tony Kornheiser had a show. I don't think his was on TV though. I think his was just on radio. But he had Dan Patrick. You had Mike and Mike in the morning, right? You had First Take or Cold Pizza when it was called that. Like, you had these shows that came on, and numbers never lie, right? You had fantastic shows that all had different angles, different personalities, right? And for the most part, they kept their fandom in check, for the most part, except for one person, Mike Greenberg. Mike Greenberg has been a fan his entire life. He makes no bones about it. He does really ridiculous fan stuff. He says really ridiculous fan stuff. He talks about the sport, every sport, with the glasses of a fan on. He talks about sports like a fan. And because Mike Greenberg has continued to ascend, right, as the A Mike, because he's continued to ascend, what did other people do? They mimicked. They did what he did. Shout out to Mike, right? He took the local shock jock sports guy fandom and brought it national. Rode the back of Mike Greenberg, of Mike Golic, positioned himself as the intelligent one of the two, even though I thought it was funny because Mike Golic went to Notre Dame, has produced 3 children, all super smart, talented, who all went to Notre Dame, had a brother that went to Notre Dame, and yet it was always Mike Greenberg that was positioned as the intelligent one, and Mike Golic that was positioned as the meathead. as the meathead football player. They played roles. But guess what the meathead doesn't get? The meathead player does not get to ascend. And so when Mike Greenberg had other aspirations as the intelligent fan, he went up. I digress. What does this mean to me? Mike Greenberg has always considered himself to be a journalist. He's always considered himself to be a journalist. That is what he, made his bones on, apparently. But a journalist is a person who writes for newspapers, magazines, or news websites, or prepares news to be broadcast. When was the last time we saw Mike Greenberg doing this? Mike Greenberg is a fanalist. I would say that Mike Greenberg is the top fanalist. He's the fanalist of the fanalist. He is the antithesis. Not antithesis. He is he's a tip of the iceberg, right? He is the top of the mountain. He is as high up as fanalists can go. Is Mike Greenberg, super well paid guy who gets to come on TV with no real legitimate educated thought about sports, only just the view of the fan. The view of the fan. That's what he's been able to get off. That's what he's been able to rock with over the last God knows how many years. He's been able to not only carve out a career for himself, continue to ascend in that career because he's a fan. And you know what I don't like about it? I don't like that a lot of people out there, and I'm going to do something I rarely do. I don't like that a lot of people out there will call out Stephen A. Smith for how much money he gets paid for what he does. But they don't call out Mike Greenberg for how much money he gets paid for what he does. Because last time I checked, his show in the morning has gone through makeover after makeover after makeover because they just keep trying to get it right. They just keep trying to find a formula of that morning show. They had it with Mike and Mike for years. He destroyed it. He didn't want to do it anymore. Then he came right back and essentially is doing Mike and Mike in the morning, except with a whole bunch of other mics. And still, First Take reigns supreme. Stephen A. Smith reigns supreme. And now people are talking about Stephen A. Smith as if he doesn't deserve the money that he gets. And I've never heard Stephen A. Smith flaunt money. I've never heard Stephen A. Smith talking about how much he's paid. I never hear Greenberg doing it. Yet only one of the two are criticized and said that they don't deserve the money that they're getting. I think it's dirty work. Because if you set them down next to me right now, which one do I think is more valuable to television, to sports television right now? Mike Greenberg or Stephen A. Smith? Greenberg, Stephen A. Greenberg, Stephen A. Greenberg, who says, I don't want any controversy. I just want to be friendly to everybody. I want it to be kumbaya, blah, blah, blah. Sports. Oh my God, the Jets suck. Or, Stephen A. Smith talking about this. I'm bloviating. Give you all the take. Ready to stand out there. Don't care if you like or hate him. Ready to stand on his square. Yo, it's not even close. It's not even close. What are we talking about here? One is a fan. The other person is a personality. Mike Greenberg is a fan. Stephen A. Smith is a media personality. And to me, when you try to like get on Stephen A., who is doing the job, right? For better or worse, like him or not, he's doing the job. Whereas this guy over here, Mike Greenberg, is just on some fan stuff. Just throw some stuff out there. Don't make no sense. It don't matter. Hey, I think this team should lose on purpose. Said no athlete ever. Said no athlete ever. But Mike Greenberg's never claimed to be an athlete. He's always claimed to be a fan. So why are we not treating him like a fan? Why are we treating Stephen A. like anybody can come and do what Stephen A. does? They can't. I can't do what Stephen A. does. I wouldn't want to. That's his lane. That's his bag. I want to be me. And Mike Greenberg is free to be him. Only Mike Greenberg does not get backlash for spawning all of these fanalists. He is the genesis. That's the word I was looking for earlier. He is the genesis of the national fan. Right? Like we knew all the time that the local sports jocks, they were fanalists. They almost had to be, right? You're speaking to one. We never saw somebody get on national television day in and day out and profess their fandom. Mike Greenberg did that. He takes pride in that. He's an innovator in that way, if you will. Stephen A. Smith didn't discover debate, sports debate. He just took it to the umpteenth level. And now he's the best in the world at it. But nobody is out here saying, hey, Mike Greenberg should not be getting paid that ridiculous amount of money that he's getting paid. But everybody pocket watching Stephen A. It's dirty work, my friends. It's dirty work. And all that, right? All that just to come back to the fact that every time I look on my timeline, I see a bunch of fanalists who have built up, their following, built up their equity, has something tangible, a podcast, a webcast, a newsletter. And I go, that's great. That's phenomenal. I love the fact that you've paved the way, that you've made the thing that you love into a way that could possibly be a revenue stream for you. And those same people will look at me as an actual journalist, as somebody who has been a journalist his entire life, and want to compare themselves to me just strictly based off the fact they got more followers than I do. What? We don't do the same job. Trust me, if I got out here and started glazing every single player on one particular team and only ever talk positive about them and kumbaya, sis, my follower count would go out the roof. I am a Tampa Bay Buccaneers supporter. I don't even really call myself a fan no more, because I understand what a fan is. It's fanatic. And I'm not fanatic about any sport team. I'm fanatical about sports. I'm not fanatical about any one sports athlete. I'm fanatical about sports. Why? Because I'm a journalist. I'm a sports journalist. Every day when I look at sports, I cannot just watch a game to enjoy the game. When I watch a game, there's angles. I'm thinking about storylines as I watch the game. That's how my brain works. It ain't my fault. That's how it works. That's how it goes. I can't help it. When your brain starts doing that, then you understand how being a fanalist does not help your cause if you're me. I'm not even saying I got hate for it. I'm just saying I'm not trying to be you. I'm not claiming to be you. I got love for you. Why are you trying to be me? Why are you claiming to be me? Why can't you just have love for me? Why can't we keep the main thing between the people doing the thing? Analyst, journalist, fanalist, commentators, they're all different. And we don't have to pretend they're the same just to try to like keep some people's feelings. I don't need to hear from Michael Greenberg when it comes to anything about the ins and out and minutia of the game. That's why he has all of these former football players up there to be his defunct Mike Golics. Like, nobody talks about that. I think it's amazing. He has just been able to skate on the fact that this man said he didn't want to do Mike and Mike anymore, then started a show that failed, and they just allowed him to stay and transformed it into Mike, everybody else. That's a cold ass wedding, dog. It's a cold ass wedding. Sunflower seed. It's a cold wedding, dog. You just able to do that to your people? Man, I tell you, like the things that I think about in my brain, like this is only the tame stuff. There's stuff way further down the line that I talk about that I'm like, you know what? Don't even bother bringing it up. It doesn't matter. But I think about the audacity that y'all have to go at Stephen A the way that y'all go at Stephen A and let Mike Greenberg get a pass for all these years. Hey, man, you better than me. We come back. We'll be talking more. This is Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Network.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men. This is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. It would have been good if I turned on the microphone. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, Riptide Media Network and 102.9 The Game app. Make sure you download that wherever you're getting your apps from. You know, wherever you're downloading your apps from. If you're on an Android, you go to the Google Play Store, look up that 102.9 The Game app. Make sure you download it. If you're on Apple, go to the Apple Store, I guess. Apple Store. Did I get it right this time, Apple people? You can leave a thumbs up in the comments if I got it right. I had somebody on the comments. Somebody on the comments said that, and this is shout out to Joel Might 00. It says Flores' fate was sealed once he didn't play the tampering game. Could definitely be for real. Could definitely be true. I don't know what it is. I just know that it doesn't seem like a great recipe for success to keep getting guys out there. Make sure you go to Coach Gene Clemens, at Gene Clemens on X, and vote on our Keep It Spicy poll of the day. Do you believe the CEO of an NIL collective should get paid? Right now, 62% are saying no. 62.4% are saying no. 37.6% saying yes. Keep those votes coming in. For the year, for the day tomorrow, we will give you the results of that poll. So keep on keeping on. It's weird though, right? Like here's the craziest part about social media. Over 5,000 people have viewed this poll, right? But there hasn't been 5,000 people who voted. I just don't get that, people. If you see it, just give a quick vote. Why not? Right? Like I said before, a lot of this, man, if you just like a lot of things that we ask from you as creatives is just for you to patronize, right? Like for you to follow, for you to continue to be engaged with us, because that is how we are able to show that, we're doing our thing is by your level of engagement. And that's why I appreciate all the people that join us on X. That's why I appreciate all the people that join us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Twitch and everywhere else, because I know that engagement matters, right? I'm not going to ever sit back and say that engagement does not matter. I've got a nice little shine on my forehead because I have been hot. So I'm going to try to calm down because I don't want to give myself a heart attack or a blood aneurysm or anything that comes with being all worked up. I'm looking at my blood pressure, my heart rate right now. It's at 99. So we all right. We're all right. I thought everybody told me that it was going to lose money. That's what everybody said. That's what everybody tried to convince us of, right? Everybody tried to tell us that Caitlin Clark was going to lose money because she wasn't staying in college. That college was where the bag was. That college is where she had to stay in order to get her money. This is news, and this is courtesy of Front Office Sports. It says news: Caitlin Clark has signed a multi-year partnership deal with Wilson. Clark will get a signature basketball collection with Wilson, making her the first athlete since Michael Jordan to do so with the brand. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what y'all are talking about. Caitlin Clark is out here getting this money. And shout out to her. She should. Right? Don't ever forget, ladies and gentlemen, I am always and forever pro player when it comes to getting this money. It doesn't matter if I like the player. It doesn't matter how good I think the player is. I am always unequivocally 100% pro player when it comes to getting this money. I love the fact that Caitlin Clark got the Nike deal. Why? Because it opens up other people to get a Nike deal. I love that Caitlin Clark is getting this Wilson deal. Why? Because it opens up other people to get this Wilson deal. Or a Spalding deal. Or not, like, right? There's other shoe companies, there's other basketball companies. I'm with it. I just like to push back on these people who sit out here and try to say things like they know what the truth is, like they understand what's really going on when in reality, they have no clue. Caitlin Clark was never going to make more money in college than she was in the pros. And here's why. Because the college was never going to pay her. Ta-da! For as much as you don't like it, for whatever you might think about how much the WNBA pays, they still pay. For whatever you think about what the WNBA is, they're going to be given a larger platform than what women's college basketball does. For whatever you think about the women's game here, the women's game abroad has a lot of fans. Caitlin Clark, right? See, and this is something y'all don't even think about. Caitlin Clark's going to spend her WNBA career over here, right? And then Caitlin Clark is most likely going to go to another country and get broke off to play basketball. That's something she could have never done in college. Now opening up that international market, guess what that does to her endorsement deals? People in China, when she goes and plays in China, guess what they're going to want to do? They're going to want to buy that basketball. They're going to buy those Nikes. If she goes and plays in Russia, I wouldn't advise it, but, you know, if she goes to play in Russia, guess what? Those people in Russia, they're going to want those shoes. They're going to want that basketball. She's going to make endorsement deals in Russia, endorsement deals in China, and wherever she ends up playing at. Hey, but why does she have to go overseas in order to make money? Because she does. Like, what are y'all talking about? Y'all just be saying stuff. And it just really drives me absolutely nuts, right? And I'm going to tell you why it drives me nuts. I'll tell you. So the WNBA season is 40 games long. That's less than half the games that the men play. That's less than half the games that the men play in the regular season. Men play 82 games. The women's 40 games. So if she goes and plays in the WNBA and plays 40 games, and then she goes over to the women's Chinese league and plays, and I'm looking it up right now, by the way, if you were wondering what I'm doing. Women's Chinese Basketball Association has 38 rounds of games. So that essentially would be a regular NBA season. So what are we talking about? Right? What are we talking about? The season for the Women's Chinese Basketball Association stretches from mid-October to mid-March. The WNBA season doesn't start until the beginning of May. So they go from mid-October to mid-March, right? So I look at it from the standpoint of she has the opportunity to cash out now as a professional. And even though she's kind of sort of struggling right now, right? And when I say kind of sort of struggling, I have to say kind of sort of struggling because she's still getting buckets. Like she's still putting the ball in the cup. She's just not efficient, but she's never been efficient. So I don't understand why that's an issue. Oh, you actually pay attention to efficiency now. It actually shows up when you're not playing Iowa State. It shows up when you're not playing Wyoming, right? So, like, she's still getting buckets. The assists, they'll get better. She'll figure out what passes she can and can't make. The rebounds, they're never getting back to what they were. Look at her body. Look at the way her body is built. Remember that women's WNBA players do not come into the WNBA as children. They come in as women. Caitlin Clark has been in college for 4 years, which means that she's 22 years old. Right? Like, that's what it is. There's nobody in the WNBA that's not pushing 22. These are women. So, yes, her body will get stronger, but, like, is it ever going to even be, like, to the Sabrina Ionescu level? Can she get to the Kelsey Plum level? Because right now, I'm looking at her, and the more I see her, the more I'm like, this is Kelsey Plum 2.0. Except, you know, I think Kelsey Plum is yum. Is that okay for me to be like, I think Kelsey Plum's yum, that I think she's beautiful? Is that okay? Or can I not now say that women are beautiful? I can only just acknowledge that she's a good basketball player. Y'all got to stop that. By the way, shout out to the WNBA. There are some absolutely beautiful women in the WNBA. I don't know if you all love me. If we keeping it a buck. I don't know if they all love me, but there are some absolutely stunning, beautiful women in the WNBA, and shout out to y'all. Y'all been doing y'all thing. I don't want it to ever go unnoticed. I would call out some names, but it'd just be me talking into a microphone, screaming into the. They're never going to acknowledge me. It's cool. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've gotten acknowledged. But they ain't trying to date. So, I mean, you know, they ain't trying to holler at your boy. They ain't trying to fly me out on the PJ. You know, I think that's important, right? I think it's important to recognize that not only is the WNBA great basketball, like I've always contended, it's great basketball with beautiful women. The same way women are looking at these NBA players and going, oh my gosh, he's this, he's that. It's the same way I'm looking at these WNBA players. Only difference is, from what we know, at least, right? For what we know, the men, they like the women. WNBA, coin flip, my guy. Coin flip. I ain't mad at it. I'm just saying it's a reality of life. Like, I don't know if I was to say, hey, I like her. I don't know if she likes us. Right? Like, I can say I think Kelsey Plum is beautiful. I think that Liz Cambage is beautiful. I know both of those women like men. Because, you know, one just married to a man, or still is kind of maybe. The other one has constantly touted her love for us. So, cool. But I say some of these other names who I think are beautiful, who I think are gorgeous. I don't know. I'm cool with it. I just know that I'm probably never going to, get the chance. That's unfortunate. And I mean, the truth is if they like men, I'm still probably not getting a chance. So, that's what it is. But shout out to Caitlin Clark, man, and keep cashing them checks, keep getting that money. I think that they're like, I was trying to think about it, right? Like, where is she going to fall? But I don't think she's ever going to be a superstar. I don't. I really do think she's going to be, unless some of y'all think that Kelsey Plum is a superstar, and then if that's the case, then okay, cool. I think she can beat Kelsey Plum. But nobody's running around here saying Kelsey Plum is the best player in the world. And that was the trajectory that I think people had Caitlin Clark on. Now, there'll be some people out there who say, well, coach, like, how can you already like say that about her? It's like, I could be wrong, man. I could be wrong. But I've watched a lot of basketball and I've coached a lot of basketball. And as much as basketball is a skill game, there's still a level of athleticism that comes with it. And if you want any proof of it, just look at the South Carolina basketball game. What South Carolina was able to do versus Caitlin Clark, they essentially gave the game plan to every WNBA team on how to handle her. Except every WNBA team is able to do it. I don't care what squad she would be on. If she was on the Aces, you know what she would be? She'd be coming off the bench. Who's she taking the spot of on that team? She's coming off the bench. She would be a super sub off the bench, right? No doubt about it. Super sub off the bench, but she's coming off the bench. If you put her in New York, you think she's starting? Whose starting spot she's taking? We just talked about Sabrina Ionescu. She's the only one with a shoe out right now. She ain't taking her spot. There's not really, not like she's versatile, but she can play 3 positions. No. You can play her as a point if you want it, but that's tough. You really want to play her as a 2 that handles the ball, right? A combo guard. But after that, you ain't throwing her at the 3. Girls are eating her alive. They're eating her alive at the 1 and 2. She don't play no D. Right? She don't play no D. And not for nothing, Kelsey Plum didn't play D when she first came into the WNBA. So she can get better. Kelsey Plum's still not the best defensive player in the world. But if you ever look at Kelsey Plum's done the work in the weight room. You can see it in her body. Toned up, fit. Like she's been in there. Caitlin Clark, if you look at her body, looks like she's never seen the weight room. She's going to have to find it, though. And trust me, when she does, she might not get, like, massive, but when you can see a little more definition on her, it'll do her well. She'll be able to better play through contact because she's never going to be able to just blow by people. She'll be able to play better through contact, and because she's a fantastic shooter, she'll be able to finish. I just don't know if she's ever going to be a superstar. She's not going to be Breanna Stewart. She's not going to be Asia Wilson. She's not going to be Candace Parker. By the way, shout out to Candace Parker. When you think about it, right? And you've heard people say it if you follow the WNBA. Yo, nobody comes to the WNBA and just shows they tail. The only person to walk into the WNBA and get it popping immediately is who? Candace Parker. Candace Parker is the only one who walked off of a college campus and became top 3 in the WNBA immediately. Tina Charles was really good when she came out, right? Tina Charles was really good, but she wasn't immediately top 3. Maya Moore was really good, but was she immediately top 3? I don't know. Diana Taurasi, when she came out, she was pretty lit. But I don't know if she was top 3 when she came out. Like, when Candace Parker came out, she was immediately considered to be one of the best players in the WNBA. Without a doubt. By the way, shout out to Tina Charles. Y'all know Tina Charles is still out there getting buckets too, boy. Bye. I'm going to tell you, these WNBA players, when they get these jobs, they're not coming off them jobs. That's why you don't see a whole lot of you don't see a lot of them what's the word I'm looking for? You don't see a lot of turnover, right? You might see players like switching teams, but you don't see a whole lot of new. That's why it's hard for players from college to make it into the WNBA. That's why there's only 13 players getting selected, because it's tough. The WNBA is tough. So I think Caitlin Clark is going to be fine. I think we may have to change what we think her ceiling is. But I say that with her just being a rookie and only a few games into her career. I know all that. Don't want to rock the boat. I'm just telling you how I feel about it. That's all. Just telling you how I feel about it. I also feel sad, right? Because, and I wanted to bring this up in this segment, because I just don't want to talk about it as a way to go out. And this won't be the last that I'm talking about it. But according to Screen Time, the 2024-2025 NBA season will mark the final run for TNT's Inside the NBA, featuring Shaq, Ernie, Kenny, and Charles Barkley. I mean, what else can you do? What else can you do but give a round of applause, right? Like, what else would make sense than to give a round of applause? It's been phenomenal. I almost feel like, this is crazy, but I almost feel like I don't know basketball without knowing the NBA on TNT. Like, that sounds wild to say, right? But I don't know. I don't feel like I know the NBA before the NBA on TNT, even though I know it, right? Even though I remember vividly times but when Charles and Kenny were still playing basketball, like where Shaq was still at LSU or not even at LSU. Like, I remember all of these times. So I don't want to make it seem as if I just came to basketball when Inside the NBA came, but if we keeping it a buck, it wasn't until Inside the NBA got here that it just got really fun to watch the shows, right? Like, before that, we just watched for the basketball, but we didn't watch we didn't really watch the pregame, postgame show right there. Like, when Inside the NBA came and Charles Barkley hit year 2 and he started talking that talk, and Kenny Smith was talking that talk because now he was talking that talk, right? Like, I feel like once that happened, it was easier. Like, it was easier to say, oh, snap, this is an interesting thing. This is an interesting time. Like, I appreciated it. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciated. I got down with it. I thought it was good because there were real basketball players who were talking, but they weren't talking like they weren't talking as if they were trying to be the establishment. They were talking just as if we were talking in the barbershop. They were keeping it breezy, right? They were keeping it breezy. And I appreciated that. They said things that were controversial. They said things that other people wouldn't say, but they kept it breezy. That's fly, right? Like that's what I look at and I go, that's fly. And so it's the end of an era. And I don't know what's going to happen, right? I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm telling you this. Whatever they're going to do, right? Whatever they're going to do, TNT is going to take a big hit by no longer having this. And not for nothing, I know it's not going to matter to the NBA because the NBA is just trying to get as much money as they possibly can. So I know this probably won't matter to the NBA. But this is one of those things where you actually should take less money to stay on TNT. Like where you shouldn't look to try to max out the money so you can stay on TNT. That's how intimate the relationship is with the fans and with that show. Like, why are you going to let somebody else get the TNT? Like, what are you doing? Why are you going to let somebody else get that mojo that comes with Charles Barkley? Like, if I'm some other place, like I know that they say that it's Ernie, right? That Ernie is the linchpin to it. It's not the same without him. If I'm Ernie Johnson, I'm saying, hey, guys, I love y'all, but you got to give me something. Like, you got to give me a chance to go do this with my guys somewhere else. And then whomever gets the rights, just back up the Brinks truck and pay them 4 dudes whatever they want to get that show on. That's all you do. You do whatever you got to do. Imagine on ESPN hearing them and not having to hear Malika Andrews and Kendrick Perkins and all of these kind of bland, blah people that they have on there to talk about it. Like, you get to hear from them dudes. I don't know if it's going to be ESPN, probably not. But imagine like other teams getting a hold of this, keeping a hold of it, and making it what it should be. I mean, other stations. I'm sad because I feel like somehow this is going to get messed up. And those 3 outside of EJ, who I think has said he's staying with TNT, right? Those other 3 are going to have to go and do something else, right? Unless they just say, well, I'm not doing it anymore because EJ is not. They're going to go and try to find other gigs. And I think that the parts are maybe not as strong as the whole, with the exception of Charles Barkley. I think Barkley can sign his own check, right? But the problem is who you put around Barkley to be able to pull the Barkley out of him, right? Who do you have around Barkley that's going to be able to counterbalance the Barkley? Like the good thing about this group of people is that all 3 of them are bona fide. Like a lot of people make fun of Kenny because he's not on the level of Shaq and he's not on the level of Barkley as a player, but he was a real legitimate ball player. And he's got chips, right? He's got chips that he didn't just ride along for, that he was there, that he was an integral part of. He can talk his talk. And he's been in the game long enough now where he knows his media thing back and forth. And not for nothing, the man's still getting it done out here in these streets. I know y'all saw that beach pic of him. Them legs are still crazy. Them knees are still knocking, but boy, he getting it done. Ladies and gentlemen, we come back on Talk Spicy. We'll wrap it up for the day. Get you ready for game 1 in the Western Conference Finals tonight. Also, we'll get you ready for Caitlin Clark's a visit to Seattle. This is Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Network.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together. I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy, Riptide Media Networks and the 102.9 The Game app. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you to everybody that's joining us on all of the platforms. Make sure you stay tuned after we are finished here. The Bleacher Brothers will be with you. And you know, anyway, it says that a Sarasota man has been charged with murder in a shooting that killed the brother of Auburn running back Brian Beatty and injured Beatty and 3 other men. The Sarasota County Sheriff's Office arrested Daryl Bernard Brookins on Wednesday as a suspect in the weekend shooting. Tommy Beatty IV was pronounced dead at the scene early Saturday. Brookins had been charged with murder and attempted murder as a felon in possession of a firearm. It was not immediately known if he had had an attorney who could comment on his behalf. There's been no official update on Brian Beatty's status. Auburn coach Hugh Freeze posted on social media Monday that Beatty was still on a ventilator after a setback the previous day. Beatty spent 3 seasons at South Florida before transferring to Auburn. He ran for 227 yards and a touchdown last season, while ranking 4th in the Southeastern Conference in kick return average. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I'll probably never know what happened. All I'm going to say is that our young men have to stop putting themselves in positions where there's no win. I'm not even saying that Beatty did anything. I'm not saying that he did anything wrong. But I always thought it was funny when I would hear people say the phrase, trouble just seems to find me. Because I know those people, right? Like I've had conversations with those people. I've seen how those people moved. And in my brain, I would just be going, brother, trouble ain't try to find you. You went right where trouble was, and trouble said, oh, I know you. It's just like guys that say, oh man, I just attract a certain type of woman. No, you don't. You put yourself in the position where a particular type of woman is, and then you wonder why all you do is attract that type of woman. You're in the target-rich environment. You in the target-rich environment. Hey, here's what we find out. Here's the harsh reality of what we find out as we get older. Not all of the people who used to think that we were fly think we're fly anymore. Some of them go from being happy for you to envious of you. Some go from being envious to jealous. And once they're jealous, what happens? Why did Cain slay Abel? Jealousy, envy. Like it starts that way. How about the situations in life where you see a guy, hey yo man, or a girl, hey yo, she is the greatest husband. Oh my gosh, I wish I could find a man like him. Oh my God, girl, you got such a good man. I wish I could find a man like him. Fast forward 6 months later, and you find out that she's been sleeping with him. She never wanted a man like him. She wanted your man. That jealousy, that envy can lead to destruction. And not everybody means you good out here. Sometimes it's better to not be seen. I know it's hard, but sometimes you have to get uncomfortable with the fact that you got to leave the comfortable places. It used to be like I still am. I'm very comfortable in the hood. I don't feel a certain way. I feel a sense of home because that's how I grew up. But it's the fact that I know that I'm comfortable there that tells me that I probably shouldn't be there very often. And when I am there, my comfort tells me that I should have my antennas up. Because when I lived there, growing up, I had no other choice but to be there. Now I have a choice. I don't have to do this. I don't have to live that way. My antennas are up anywhere I go because that's just how I was raised. But I don't have to constantly be worried about what's going on. I don't have to constantly be worried about what's going on outside of my door. That's not how I have to live now. That's the fly part of growing up. That's the benefit of hard work. Nothing was ever given. right? Nothing was ever given. And so I look at some of these young men who are off in school, man, and I'm just saying, I'm just going to tell you something that I thought about. And this might be controversial to some of y'all out there, right? But hear me out. Hey, yo, you got to stop going home. You got to stop going home. Bottom line. Like, you just got to stop going home when you are in school. Like, when you're in school, you have to be like the what I'm trying to, because I wanna what is the word I'm looking for? I want to shape this the right way, right? I want to shape this the right way. When I was in college, right? When I first started going to college, I would go home. And while I was home, I would do all of the stuff that the people who didn't go to college would do, right? I would go to the clubs. I would go and hang out and chill in the spots, essentially doing some of the young jitterish stuff that I would do, right? Right? Like, I get that. But here's the truth behind it. Here's the truth behind it. I wasn't like, I knew that stuff always seemed to end bad at the end of the night. A lot of the stuff that we were doing ended poorly at the end of the night. And so I would never be there at the end of the night. I might go out with some people from the crib and, you know, we would go and boom, boom, boom. But at some point of the night, right? At some point of the night, I would then go, all right, it's time for me to ride. Like, and then I would go somewhere else that I had become more comfortable with, that I had been exposed to while being off at college. Places that they wouldn't want to go because they were not comfortable there. That was out of their element. I realized quickly, I'm just not going to have an element. I'm going to be fly anywhere. And so I started, when I then transferred to my second school, right? I had made a decision. I'm not going home. I felt like home was a distraction. I felt like home, every time I went home, it was almost like sucking me in to where it was harder to leave. And I don't blame anybody. It's all on me. I wasn't ready to be able to stand up and do these things on my own. So I just had to eliminate it as an option. I'm no longer going home. So on holidays, I didn't go home. Christmas, I went to a friend's house. Right? Christmas, I went to a friend's house. Small holidays, I just stayed at the school. Spring breaks, I went other places. I didn't go home. In the summertime, I would go places where I had internships. I had friends that I could stay at. I wasn't going home. I didn't go home when I graduated. I went straight to work. And I didn't come home until the winter until the winter break of my first year teaching. At that point, I felt like I was strong enough to be able to be at home and be comfortable with saying, nah, I ain't doing it. I felt like it was comfortable enough for me to be like, yo, I'm not moving like that no more. Or, hey, I'll come with y'all for a little bit, but then, or, hey, I'm not going to ride with you, but I'll meet you over there, right? I had those abilities now because I was an adult, because I had my own job, I had responsibilities. So, like, it took me a while to be able to get there, to get to that point. It took me a while to get to that point. I knew that if I would just, like, if this is what I just did, if I just did this, then, like, I would fall into the elements. Not because I was a bad dude and I was going to do something, but because the elements, a lot of that stuff felt comfortable to me. I didn't feel like the level of fear that you might think one should feel, because I grew up with it. But I was hella aware. Like, I knew I wasn't, we go to this place. This place, there's fights. People get shot around here. Nah, it'll be all right. I'm with my guys. How do they stop a bullet? How do they stop a bullet? The bullet ain't got no eyes on it. And that's what it makes me think about with this situation. It's like, whatever they were doing, if they were involved, or even if they were not involved, they were in a place where danger was evident. I mean, was imminent, right? And nobody said, hey, yo, these bullets ain't got no eyes on them. I like to think that I give the advice to my youngins, hey, yo, don't be in the place that's going to put you in a situation to be involved in something that you have no desire to be involved in. You got to take yourself out of that space. And if you don't, then there's going to be these unfortunate situations. That's how it goes. If you do, then there's going to be all of these unfortunate situations. It's crazy out here, man. It is. It is. Like, it's an interesting thing to me. I'll say it like that. It's an interesting thing to me. I think we need to I think we need to put our arms around our young men, especially our young men that are out here playing sports, and we know that some of them grow up with one foot in the streets and one foot on the field or on the court. We gotta be the ones to push them all the way to the other side. The difference between, I had a really good conversation with some people, and we were talking about it. The difference between my OGs, right? The guys, or not even the OGs. Let me take that back. The difference between the people on the street, the streets, when I was coming through, and now, is that when I was coming through, the streets would not let me get too far in the street. As a kid, they said, yo, you can be something. You can be a ball player. You can go to college. You can get up out of here. The streets, they're not in the streets because that's where they always wanted to be. When I was coming through, they were in the streets because they had no other choice, and then they got into a position where they just didn't know any other way out. This was just going to be life for them. Today, the streets know better. The streets understand how to get this money besides being on the streets. They're choosing to be on the streets. But they're not telling the young talent, I shouldn't say all of them, but I've seen it with my own eyes. Some of these people are not telling these ultra talented young men who have 1 foot on the streets and 1 foot in the athletic arena to, put both feet over there. Get out of here. Like, they're not telling them dudes to do that. They are welcoming them in. They're embracing them. They're making them feel like it's flyer to be over on the streets than it is to be out there. They're trying to make them feel like that out there, what they really should be doing is just being a representation of the street. And then when they get killed, we put on our shirts and we memorialize them, right? We put the shirt on with their face on. We put the RIP on the car. We do the rest in peace post. We do the, oh man, I messed up, my guy's gone. But we knew the guy was out there, and we knew the guy didn't have to be out there, and nobody said, hey, yo, go away. You don't need to be here. Hey, it's going to be something going down here. You don't need to be around here. Where are the big homies? Where are the big homies that are taking care of the talented young, telling them, yo, this ain't for you. Nah, you can't have this because you got to go work. Hey, nah, you can't have this because you're really smart. Why can't we just take care of each other? As men, why don't we take care of each other the same way that women will take care of each other? Why don't we take care of each other as black men the same way that we see other races, other nationalities take care of each other as men? Why don't we lift each other up? Instead, we tear each other down. It's crazy. I've never seen some of the stuff that I've seen in others. And I'm not here to point fingers and to blame. I'm just telling you that I have a feeling that we can be special if we just flip the coin, if we just flip the magnet, right? If we just do the little small thing, if we just do the little small thing that allows us to avoid the pitfalls, to avoid the struggle, to avoid the stress, if we just do the little things, if we just give the words, if it comes from more than just one person, imagine if a young man hears at home, hey, yo, you're going to be special. You just gotta keep your stuff together. And then they hear it at the home. Then they hear it at school with the teacher. Then they hear it from the coach. Then they hear it from their homeboys. Instead of them homeboys going, man, you ain't nothing, or you ain't S. And then they go around their people in the street and they hear from the streets, hey man, you did your homework, man. You're gonna be somebody. Imagine if they heard it and it was just, you know what I'm saying? It was just constantly talked about in their head. They would be inundated with it so much that they would have no other choice but to believe it. They would have no other choice but to understand that this is not the path. I think about that young man at Auburn, man, and I feel nothing but like sadness in my heart for him. I feel sadness in my heart that his brother's no longer here. Like whatever situation he's in right now, right? He's still with us. When he recovers, he's not only going to have to deal with his recovery, He's going to have to deal with his recovery while also knowing that whatever went on cost his brother his life. Ain't no coming back from that. Ain't no coming back from the death. Ain't no coming back from the death. I don't care how much we try to like romanticize it. Ain't nothing fly about dying early. Nothing. Every single person that died early, you hear this phrase afterwards. Imagine what would have happened if he lived. To everybody that died early. James Dean. Right? Old school white dude, super fly. Oh, imagine if he had been able to be like George Clooney. We'll never know. He dead. Nipsey. Oh, imagine what would have happened if he. We'll never know. He's dead. Tupac. Biggie. Tupac was about to, he had him, so he was about to start really hitting him with the consciousness. Blah, blah. We'll never know. He's dead. Big gotten it together, man. He was you could hear it in his music, the maturity he was figuring out. Yeah, but he dead. All that stuff is fly until you figure out you're never gonna get a chance to see it. We don't have to live this way, ladies and gentlemen. But especially gentlemen, and especially my black gentlemen out here, it is fly to get older. There's nothing sad about getting old, because in order to get old, you got to live a long time. And you know what you get to do when you live a long time? A lot. Don't believe me? Watch. You spend your first 21 years just getting to adulthood, right? Then you spend your 20s figuring out the adulthood. Your 30s, you hit 40 and you realize, oh snap, another 20 years that went by. Now you get a whole nother section of your life where hopefully in the 40s, maybe even if you're blessed earlier, you figured out the game. And now you're playing different. Oh, snap. Life threw you a curveball. 50-something. You could still get it popping. It's people out here at 60 that didn't get it popping until 60. Didn't get it popping until their 50s. You got so much life. Don't waste it. Don't give away the opportunity for the life. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to the world, because your contribution might be the contribution that changes everything, but you can't do it from the grave. You can't do it from the grave. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Do this thing on Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. Stay tuned for the Bleacher Brothers next here on the Riptide Media Networks. Till next time. Peace.